In this video, I'm going to go over a couple of string operations so that you can do assignment 3. The most common use of personal computer is for word processing. In Python, the text is represented by the string data type. A string in Python can either be enclosed within double quotations or it can be single quotations. For example, we're declaring a string here called str1 and giving it the value hello. And then we declare another string called str2 and give it the value spam. Notice how this one is using double quotes, but this one is using single quotes. We then use the print function to print both of them. So we print str1 first and separate it by a comma, and then press str2. So it will print our two strings separated by a space. If we want to know the type of a variable, we can just use the type function and put the name of the variable in parentheses. So type str1 is a string, and you can see it says class str, and type str2 is also a string, which we already know. So let's try this out in idle. So str1 equals hello, str2 equals spam, we then use the print function str1 comma str2, and you see it says hello spam, and we want to know the type of str1, and if we want to know the type of str2, oops, I forgot to put the parentheses. There we go. We can prompt the user for a string by using the input function. So we can give them a message like first name is equal to input, and please enter your name. And they can enter John, and then we can print it out saying hello, first name, hello John. Notice that the input is not evaluated. We want to store the type characters, not to evaluate them as a Python expression. So in this case, we're not evaluating them, we're just receiving their input. So let's try this in idle. So first name is going to be assigned what the user types once they receive the prompt. Notice that we quote a space so that it'll space it out. So we type in John. So the value John has been assigned to first name. So if we use the print function, and first we print a literal string that says hello, comma, to separate the two strings, and first name, and you see it says hello John. We can access the individual characters of the string through indexing. In computers, we start indexing from 0. So the first character is going to have an index of 0. If we want to access a particular character by its index, we use the name of the string followed by square brackets and the number of the character we want to access. So if we want to access the first character, we type 0. If we want to access the second character, we type a 1. So for example, let's say we have this string called greet and has the value hello Bob. Well, the capital H is at index 0. The lowercase e is at 1. This L is at 2. This L is at 3. This O is at 4. The space is at 5. Capital B is at 6. Little o is at 7. And lowercase b is at 8. And we want to find the first index, which is 0. We say greet 0, and it's H. If we say print greet 0, 2, and 4, that'll print capital H, L, and O. We can also take a variable and say x is equal to 8 and say print greet x minus 2. X minus 2 is 6, so that would be capital B. So let's try this in idle. So if we want to find out the first character at position at index 0 as the capital H, and we want to use the print function and print different indexes. So greet sub 0, greet at index 2, and greet at index 4. H, L, and O. We can create a variable called x and assign it a value of 8, and we can use that in our expression. So x minus 2, and it's the B. Now, the index, the last index is going to be n minus 1, the length of your string. So if your string has 9 characters, the last index is going to be 8, because 9 minus 1 is 8. You can also access the indexes from right to left by starting at -1. So if you say greet -1, that will be the lowercase b. If you say greet -3, that will be the uppercase b. So -1, -2, -3, -4, and so forth. If you want to know the length of a string, you can use the length function to do that. So let's say you have a string and it's spam, so we can see that there's 4 characters here. So when you type it, it's spam. If you want to print each individual character, you can use a for loop with a generic variable that takes on the values of each character individually as it's iterating. So for ch and spam, in the string spam, and you say print ch and n, which means that you want to separate them by a blank space, and it'll space them out like that. So let's try this in idle. So I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to create a variable called food, and I'm going to say that it has a value of spam. And if I want to know the length of food, you see it's 4 characters. If I wanted to print them individually on separate lines, I can use a for loop to do that. So I'm going to loop through the string called food I forgot the colon here. Let's see. Okay, so let me type in the colon. Okay, and then I'm going to say print. Now first I'm going to demonstrate it without the comma and equals blank so you can see what happens. It's going to print them on separate lines. See? Because the default value is a new line. So I'm going to type this loop again using the end. So I'm going to say that end is going to be equal to a blank space. So notice I have to quote a blank space there, and see that it separates the individual characters with blank spaces. The string has different operators that you can use, such as the plus sign is used for what is called concatenation or joining two strings together. The multiplication repeats a particular string. We've already seen the bracket is for indexing your string. I didn't talk about the slice, but you can look at it in the other slides for this chapter's PowerPoints. The length function returns the length of a string, and we looked at the for loop for iterating through the characters of a string. Strings are always sequences of characters, but lists, so you can create a list of sequences of arbitrary values. So to create a list, you give your list a name, and you put the contents of the list between two square brackets if you want to create a list. So, if we want to split a string into substrings, we can do this by using the split function. And what it will do is that it will split our string into substrings. So here's a literal string that says hello string methods, and I type in split, and what it does is that as soon as it finds a blank space, it identifies that as a separate substring. So by default, a separate substring is defined by a blank space. If you want it to be something other than a blank space, like a comma, you would just put a comma between these parentheses. So this string is divided into three substrings, as you can see. So let's try this in idle. So I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to create a string called words, and I'm going to say that words is equal to the quick brown fox. Now I'm going to split my strings into substrings. So I'm going to say, I'm going to create another one called word count. And I'm going to say word count is equal to words dot split. And if I wanted to know how many substrings, word count had, I would just use the len function and type in word count, and we know that it's 4 substrings because it's dog, quick, brown, and fox. And if we wanted to print each substring, we could use a for loop, and we could use a generic variable. I'm going to use WD instead of CH because these are not really characters, they're substrings for a word. In word count. Oops, I forgot the colon. So I'm going to say print WD, and this will print it on separate lines. See the quick brown fox. If I want to print the length of each word, I can say for WD and word count, print len and WD and you can see that 3, 5, 5, and 3. So the split function produces a sequence of substrings or strings. Num-strings get each successive substring. So each time through the loop, the next substring is converted to the appropriate. Now that's another program. So hopefully this helps you with assignment 3. So you know everything now to do assignment 3.